All right, welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. This is JE Live, a little bit early on the day, but it is a game day edition of JE Live, and we're going to be talking about the injury report. We're going to be talking about my thoughts on the game going into it. Want to break it down, want to answer questions as well, any super chats, anything like that. So happy to have you guys in. I know it's 10 a.m. right now on the West Coast, so of course, if you're, just getting up, well, good morning to you. It is 1 on my side of the world, and I'm excited for this game, man. Really excited. I think this is a really good opportunity for the Rams to really set themselves up. I mean, I think right now they're in a great spot. The win against the Buffalo Bills was huge, and it's not something I expected. So I think there's a lot of golden opportunities left here. And I'm just really excited to dive into what I think is going to be tonight's game. So before we dive into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment the usual. Be sure to follow me on all social media at JK Bogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Kick, and Twitch. And in addition to that, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor is Prize Picks. And I'll tell you right now, over at Prize Picks, they got a free play, essentially, a free square for Patrick Mahomes, 0.5 yards. It'll get you started. If you sign up and you play your first $5 lineup, you are going to get $50 added to your account instantly. I'm looking at it here. You got Patrick Mahomes for 0.5 passing yards, for the Rams game tonight, which is a big one. Right now, you got Byron Young, 0.25 sacks. You got Colby Parkinson. If you think he goes for 10 receiving yards, you could do that. Cooper Kupp, 8.5 receiving targets. But the ones that I really like tonight that I'm going to give you my picks here, I'm going to say right away, Puka Nacua, anything. I'm going to take more. I really love Puka Nacua right now. I think he is on just an absolute heater. You got 10.5 receiving targets. I like that. I like 7 receptions. I like 79.5 yards as a no-brainer. So I like that. I like Matthew Stafford passing touchdowns. And I like Kyren Williams to score a touchdown in this one as well. So a lot of good stuff over there. Definitely check it out over on Prize Picks, who is a sponsor of today's video. And use the promo code JKBogan again to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Okay, guys. So welcome in again. Appreciate everyone. Happy game day. Bring the brooms. Appreciate you. Grace is GOAT. Thank you for the 2 there. This is a huge opportunity for the Rams. And I think it extends just past this year, right? It extends past just this year. What the Rams can do is knock the 49ers back so far, it disrupts their season next year. Because now we're talking, the Rams won the last game they played. They won the game before that. They were really close to winning the previous game. But now you've won 3 straight against the 49ers if you win this game. It sets a tone for the young guys. It sets a tone for the new team. And it puts the 49ers in a bad spot. 49ers would essentially miss the playoffs. They're paying a lot of money to a lot of these guys. They're going to have to make decisions. You talk about Deebo Samuel potentially being one of them. Of course, Trent Williams getting up there in age, now dealing with injury. What does that look like? George Kittle potentially having to trade him. You have to make room for Brock Purdy, who they have said multiple times they plan on extending and giving him a long-term deal. So you got to keep that in mind. This 49ers team right now is desperate for a win, and you have a chance to essentially hit them with that haymaker, and they've gotten up twice off the mat. If you hit them again and they fall to the mat a third time, they're not getting up. And so this is a huge opportunity for the Rams. In addition to that, it's also a huge opportunity because the last time the Rams were 2 games above 500, you'd have to go back to last year. They beat the New York Giants to clinch the NFC West. Of course, Seattle Seahawks had to lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers at that point, but that did end up leading to a NFC West clinching scenario, and that is the last time the Rams were above 500. 2 games above 500 was Week 17. So it is a reminder that while this season has not been what everyone wanted, well, right now it's turning into potentially what everyone wanted. And furthermore, I'll tell you this right now, they're ahead and they've been ahead of last year's team. So there's a lot of good things to like here with the Rams. I like right now that they're playing the 49ers. If they win this game, they keep the momentum riding. I think that game against the Jets is going to be tough, but I think they'll win. That would put them at what? 9-6. Then you're 9-6 and you got the Cardinals who beat you 41-10. They haven't forgotten about that. They have something to prove. It's at SoFi Stadium the rest of the way. And it's at SoFi Stadium the rest of the way against teams that the Rams fans typically outnumber by quite a margin. The Cardinals are not going to get any sort of home field advantage whatsoever at SoFi. And Seattle, their fans don't travel as well as, say, the 49ers. They don't travel as well as the Bills, the Eagles, so forth. So with that said, Rams are in the driver's seat here. They can run the table and go 11-6, which would be an upgrade of last year and, of course, would be huge. And they would have an opportunity to, as long as they win the division, host a playoff game. And in addition to that, they could be playing a team in this division, the Seattle Seahawks, if things work out. So we'll see what happens there. But HAV, thank you for the 5. Consistently beating the 49ers will turn SoFi blue. If we continue to beat them, the next generation will be Rams fans. I agree. I absolutely agree. Survivalist Amber says I could totally see an 8-9 record. See, guys, that is where the Lions fans are at right now. They don't want to see this Rams team. No one does. And I'll go as far, I'm going to retract my statement based on the new knowledge that I've acquired watching this team and how they've changed things up. If they continue to do what they did and this offense looks as good as it did, well, I'll tell you right now, they're going to beat the Eagles the next time they face them. This team will win the Super Bowl if they keep this up. No doubt about it. If this offense that we saw against the Bills, if this continues, no one is beating them. They're beating the Chiefs. They'll beat the Bills again. They'll beat the Eagles. They'll beat the Lions. They'll beat the Commanders. They'll beat the Packers, the Vikings. I don't give a rip who you put in front of them. That team has championship pedigree already on the roster, and that team is already really talented, but they've already gone over kind of the youth, those growing pains. So if they do continue to play at that level, watch the hell out. And I'm not the only one saying it. You know, it's now becoming common knowledge. I mean, Orlovsky said it, Florio said it, Chase Daniel said it today. I mean, Rich Eisen's been talking about how dangerous they are. It's all over. People are getting back on the Rams train. Now, does that scare you away? I'm sure it scares some people away. I don't care. I don't think it changes how the Rams are going to play if they have fans on their side or not, because their organization isn't built on clout, right? So looking at this Rams 49ers game, starting off with the offense, you're going to be seeing a little bit of something different here because now, the 49ers, unlike the third game, to be fair, week 3, they did not have George Kittle or Deebo Samuel. I don't necessarily think Deebo Samuel, the way he's been playing, was a huge loss, but George Kittle definitely was. Okay, George Kittle had over 150 yards last week against the Bears, albeit, but he's a really, really talented player. Obviously, everyone knows that. So George Kittle is definitely, somebody to look out for in this game. And I don't know who's going to be on him. I think they got different options. We'll get into that. But looking at their practice here, their injury report, we got Ben Barch has been ruled out. The offensive lineman for the 49ers has been ruled out, right? So Barch has played a little bit. He played when Aaron Banks was out. So they don't have some depth there. Nick Bosa is questionable. Isaac Guerrero is questionable. It sounds like Guerrero is going to play. Trent Williams is out, okay? This team is not the same team when he's not at left tackle. So they're going to go with Jalen Moore, who's had a decent season this year when called upon. He's not the best, though. And Jalen Moore against Jared Verse is not a good matchup at all for Jalen Moore. In addition to that, Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, who had the knee limited all week and then finally, had a full participant in practice the last day. He is going to play. Dre Greenlaw, while questionable, he's expected to come back after an Achilles tear in the Super Bowl. He's expected to make his debut. Questionable, but he's expected to play. Yetur Gross-Matos, last week's Defensive Player of the Week. He had 3 sacks on the Chicago Bears. Limited until a full participant on Wednesday. He's going to play. He had a knee. Malik Mustafa, friend of DTR, chest and shoulder injury. He is out. Was a limited participant Monday and Tuesday. Did not practice Wednesday. Got to be a little bit too much for him. He's going to be out for this game. D. Winters, their talented linebacker out of TCU, is going to play. He was dealing with an ankle. Aaron Banks, their left guard, concussion, full participant all week. He's back. He's going to play at left guard. Talanoa Hufanga, he's going to play, dealing with a wrist. Sam O, I can't even pronounce the guy's name. I feel bad. I just can't. Not even going to try. He has a wrist, defensive lineman. He's going to play. Khalil Davis, who showed up on the injury report late on Tuesday, he is questionable with a knee injury. On the Rams side, Kobe Durant is out. Unfortunately, he was spitting up blood on the sidelines during that game. So that is a serious loss. Was dealing with a lung contusion. Listed as a chest injury. He didn't practice all week. He's out. I think that's probably best for him because you do not want to throw him in a short week coming off an injury like that. He didn't finish the game against the Bills, of course. Akello came in and replaced him at the end of the game because of the lung contusion. But the hope is that Kobe will be ready to go for the Jets game next week. We'll see. That's 10 days rest. We're going to find out if the mini bye is enough for him. Tyler Davis, dealing with a calf issue, didn't practice Monday or Tuesday, was limited on Wednesday. He's questionable. Jordan Whittington has been dealing with a shoulder, it seems like, all year. Didn't practice the first 2 days, and then he's a limited participant on Wednesday. We'll see if he goes. He's been a key contributor in the return game, albeit I do think he should be added a little bit more on the offensive side. With that said, he is questionable with a shoulder. Davis Allen, who dealt with a back issue for the majority of the beginning of the season, didn't practice the first 2 days. Limited on Wednesday, he's questionable. Demarcus Robinson, who had the double pass interference one called on him, absolutely insane. Looked like he might have been out for the year with how that shoulder, that arm was dangling. He's questionable to play, so you give him a lot of points there for toughness. That was brutal. He fell down right on his shoulder. He is questionable. We'll see. He was a limited participant on Wednesday. Didn't practice Monday or Tuesday. Bo Limmer, center, knee issue. Okay, he didn't practice on Monday. He was limited on Tuesday. He was full on Wednesday. He's questionable, but I expect him to play. And Tyler Higbee, okay, tight end, still dealing with the knee after the dirty hit from Kirby Joseph. Full participant all 3 days. Sean said this about 2 weeks ago. Hey, look, this guy could probably play, but we're going to be smart with him. That tells me they believe that they are a playoff team, as they should. And so you're making sure that he's going to be okay. And when he comes back, he's going to be fully integrated instead of just having to be eased in. So with that said, he is out. And Alaric Jackson, the left tackle, a little bit of a concern. So he full participated in the Monday practice, Tuesday, and then did not practice on Wednesday. He is questionable. If they have to go to anybody at left tackle, that would be Joe Noteboom. So obviously that's not something a lot of people want to hear, but that's the way it is. So we'll find out if that happens. Does Alaric play? Does he not? I think when you look at the Rams injury report, I think everybody is going to play. I think they've been extra cautious because of the short week, and I'm all for that. Ty Davis, I think, plays. I think Whittington. I think Allen. I think Robinson. Robinson might be limited. He might be on a snap count, but I think they all play. Bo Limmer definitely plays. I have no doubt. He was a full participant on Wednesday. Higbee and Kobe are out. I think Alaric is going to play. I think it's more precautionary that he was held out on Wednesday, but I guess we'll find out. So interesting stuff there. Anyway, looking at how this team stacks up against one another. Jalen Moore versus Jared Verse. That's a matchup to look out for. Are they going to chip Jared Verse? He's 16th in the league in chip rate. What I mean by chip is, for those of you who have no idea, tight end George Kittle or whoever would be out there also just hitting him, while he's coming off the line of scrimmage, just hitting him and then going out for, his route. Not just a block, because chipping isn't he's sitting there blocking and double teaming. Chipping is hitting him and trying to give, Jalen Moore an opportunity one-on-one and giving him a little bit of a cheap shot, but it's legal. So Jared Verse versus Moore, we're going to see. Now we're going to see, Bobby Brown versus Banks. Jake Brendel, who's not a very good center, going up against Kobe Turner. Really big mismatch. And then you have Braden Fisk, of course, who's going up against Dominic Pooney, who I know very well out of Kansas. Left tackle for them, right guard for the 49ers. He's had a stellar rookie year. So we'll see how he does and how he fares against another guy who's having a stellar rookie year in Braden Fisk. And then you'll have Byron Young and, depending on where they use Michael Hoyt, potentially Michael Hoyt against Colton McKivitz, who is not awful, but he's not exactly great per se. So that's how that looks up front, looking at the 49ers offensive line. And if you're curious, just giving you an idea here, in pass protection, when looking at the 49ers, offensive line here, we got, if this ever loads. So Trent Williams this year has allowed 1 sack and 17 pressures. He's only played 10 games, right? And you got Jalen Moore, who is not allowed a sack. He's played 6 games, has not given up a sack. He's allowed 5 pressures. He's done a pretty nice job in relief in those 6 games. Ben Barch only gave up a pressure when he was filled in at guard to replace Aaron Banks. However, he is going to be out. Burford has played 4 games this year, only allowed 1 pressure. He is also in the back end of that. But looking at Jake Brendel, hasn't given up a sack this year, 18 pressures. Really, in true pass sets, he just gets destroyed. So if there's a one-on-one matchup where it's a legitimate pass protection rep, he is going to be dominated. We'll see if that leads to a sack or not. Aaron Banks has given up a sack in 22 pressures. Dominic Pooney's given up a sack in 23. And Colton McKivitz has given up a sack in 26. This offensive line, while in a sense they have given up a lot of pressures, the big thing for the 49ers is that while it sounds like they've only given up 4 sacks, the offensive line, the biggest thing is that Brock Purdy has been responsible for most of his sacks. And if you don't believe me, I can tell you right now, Brock Purdy has forced himself into 14 sacks of his own making, okay? And he's forced himself into 28 pressures of his own making. Now, typically speaking, on his dropbacks, the percentage of responsibility for sacks is typically speaking going to be Colton McKivitz at right tackle, right? Next would be left guard, would be Aaron Banks. Both are playing. So interesting stuff there, as opposed to, say, Matthew Stafford, who is responsible for 2 of his sacks this year and only 5 pressures. So that's going to be a big thing. Brock Purdy can't take unnecessary sacks, and the Rams are going to get after Brock Purdy. They're going to. The question is, are they going to be able to mitigate what he can do with his legs and how he can buy himself some time and use his arm? And that's the thing. If they're not able to get to Brock Purdy and he's able to play backyard football game, this could be a little tight. This could be a tough game. I think it's going to be a tough game. You're going to get the 49ers best. If you don't believe me, I'm just telling you right now, you're going to. So in addition to that, on the offensive side, you got Deebo Samuel, who is going to be likely on the outside. they might use him in the slot, but they like using Juwan Jennings as the big slot receiver. We're going to see Ricky Pearsall in some capacity. Haven't seen a ton of him, and I know a lot of 49er fans are kind of wondering why. When you look at Ricky Pearsall, this is a guy that has kind of everything you want in a receiver body. So why is he not getting the opportunities? Couldn't really tell you. As of late, he's not getting a ton of targets. It's really just that simple. Kind of weird, but, that's the way that is. When Pearsall this year in 7 games has caught 12 of his 19 targets for 137 yards and a touchdown. So he's not getting a ton of opportunities there. So right now, Juwan Jennings has gotten 77, okay? He's gotten 77 targets. Cooper Kupp has 88, and Puka Nacua in 3 fewer games than Juwan Jennings has 74. So only 3 fewer targets than Juwan Jennings in 3 fewer games. George Kittle has 66 targets. Deebo Samuel has 63. Demarcus Robinson is 51. Tutu Atwell is 49. Looking at this, though, we're talking about contested catches. Juwan Jennings has been huge in contested catch situations. You're talking about a guy that's caught 14 of his 23 contested catch opportunities. That's a 60.9 contested catch percentage. Puka Nacua, believe it or not, only 4 out of 13. Cooper Kupp, 8 out of 15. George Kittle, 9 out of 12. Deebo, 5 out of 11. Demarcus Robinson, 5 out of 10. Brandon Ayuk, who's not going to play, obviously, 4 out of 7. Tyler Johnson, surprisingly, has caught 3 out of 4 contested catch opportunities. Tutu Atwell is 0 for 4 in contested catch opportunities. So it kind of gives you an idea. Pearsall, 1 of 3. Drops on the season, Deebo has 4. He leads everybody in this game with 4 drops. Puka Nacua has 3. Ronnie Bell, who's not on the team anymore, has 2. Davis Allen, Tutu Atwell, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings all have 2. Cooper Kupp and Parkinson only have 1. So interesting stuff there. When you look at it, of course, George Kittle leads all receiving threats in this game with 800 yards on the season. Surprisingly, he's only played 11 games. Juwan Jennings is second with 774. Puka Nacua is, despite playing 3 fewer games, is third with 708. Cooper Kupp has 657 on the year. Deebo has 553. Tutu Atwell has 507. Demarcus Robinson has 433. Touchdowns. George Kittle has 8. Demarcus Robinson has 7 receiving touchdowns this season. Pretty incredible when you think about that. Juwan Jennings and Cooper Kupp both have 6 apiece. Puka Nacua has 3. Ricky Pearsall, Colby Parkinson, and Deebo Samuel have 1. And believe it or not, Tutu Atwell has not caught a touchdown pass this year. I think that could change in this game. So going back to it, though, Kittle, one of the best tight ends in the league, has been for a while. That is going to be a mismatch. How on earth are you going to defend him? Okay? How is that going to work out? Because guess what? We haven't seen, this year anyway, we have not seen how the Rams are going to defend George Kittle because he didn't play in week 3 of this season. However, last year, he played in week 2 of this season, right? And so what did the Rams do in that case? How were the coverage matchups in that game? Well, if you go back and you look, George Kittle, right? So let's start with that. George Kittle in those coverage matchups, he went up against, let's see here. So he had a target against Jordan Fuller, a target against Byron Young, and a target against John Johnson. They held him to 3 catches, 30 yards last time they faced him. Really, the biggest one was Deebo Samuel, but he didn't even really do all that much. He had 63 yards, and he had 24 against Kobe Durant. He had 8 against John Johnson. He had nothing against Arian Kendrick, 23 against Ernest Jones, and 8 against Michael Hoyt. When Brandon Ayuk was on the field, he had nothing against Akello Witherspoon. He had 13 against Lake, 12 against Darian Kendrick, 18 against Ernest Jones, and 0 against Kobe Durant. A big portion of that last game, when everybody was healthy, was Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey didn't do much in the air. He did a lot on the ground. And Juwan Jennings burned Kobe Durant last year for 51 yards on a play. So really, in a nutshell, the Rams don't use corners typically to guard George Kittle, right? Now in week 3, if we can take anything away from week 3, what are we taking away? Well, the coverage matchups obviously are going to be vastly different because Kobe Durant isn't going to play and Tre'Davious White isn't on the team anymore. And Troy Reeder, who by the way was also in this game and starting, isn't on the roster right now. He's on the IR. So when you look at it, it's going to be a completely different thing. Okay, the problem is, and this is something to keep in mind here, Quentin Lake gave up 73 yards to Juwan Jennings. He's going to play. So how do you want to, operate? Quentin Lake, of course, was on Juwan Jennings, but with Kittle back, you might have no choice but to put him on George Kittle. That could be a good opportunity there. That could be a good matchup. I think I like if we're going to go with a guy to cover, Kittle, I think you got to go with Lake. I also really like the opportunity of going with Ahkello Witherspoon as well, but he's going to start on the outside, the boundary, so he's likely going to go up against, I would probably say, Juwan Jennings. They'll probably have him on Juwan Jennings. I could see Pearsall. I could, but it really depends. I think I'll probably go with Pearsall. I'll say Williams takes Samuel. And then I think with Juwan Jennings, you're probably looking at, let's say, maybe Kinchins, potentially Kinchins or Lake, and then Kittle would get the opposite. That's kind of how I see it. John Johnson would have been really good. I think John Johnson would have been huge in this game because you could put him on Kittle, and he's had good success against him. Then in the defensive side, you got Bobby Brown, Turner, Fisk, as I mentioned. The linebackers, Roseboom, Spates, they're playing very well as of late. The deep safeties, they're going to rotate. You're going to see Jalen McCullough in there. He could be an option. You could see McCullough cover one of those guys, whether that's Jennings or Kittle, so keep an eye out for him. Lake is definitely going to cover one of them. Curl is also an opportunity there, and then Kinchins. So that's really like their base defense. In a nutshell, obviously nickel, I would probably say they'll operate that, of course, when Jennings is out there. Or, they might use Jennings on the boundary. If they use Jennings on the boundary, then Ahkello Witherspoon's going to be on Jennings. And Samuel, if they use him in the slot, that kind of changes things a little bit. Looking at the defense for the Rams, defense for the 49ers. So, right now, as it stands, you got Malik Collins up front, and you got, of course, Jordan Elliott up front. And right now, Sam Aquanu, Aquaniao, like I said, I could not pronounce his name. Sam O, we don't know if he's going to play. So Elliott and Collins and Floyd, and if Bosa doesn't play, that is going to present a really interesting thing here because, if that's the case, who are they going with? And when you look at the 49ers last week, who they went with in that situation was Yetur Gross-Matos, who had his best game maybe of his career, 3 sacks, player of the week. So you're going to see Yetur Gross-Matos in that role. So Gross-Matos would go up against either Alec Jackson, or Joseph Nopum, depending on if Jackson goes or not. Elliott and Collins will be in the trenches against Avila, Limmer, and Dotson. And then you'll have Leonard Floyd against Rob Havenstein. I like both matchups, I do. Fred Warner is still somebody to look out for, even if he's playing with a fractured ankle. You still have Devondre Campbell out there. Is he going to play? How much is he going to play with Dre Greenlaw coming? I think Dre Greenlaw coming back, he is going to be very much eased into it. I don't expect him to play a ton, but I think they're going to let him go a little bit. D. Winters, we're probably going to see quite a bit. This is somebody that plays around 30 snaps, 40 snaps a game. Really good player, really athletic. So they definitely like him a lot. Jair Brown is definitely going to have to play in this game. Malik Mustafa went down. So what we saw, of course, last week against the Bears, and kind of like giving you an idea of where we're coming from here with the coverage, Mustafa played 30 snaps. So they've really been like leaning on him and kind of pushing out Jair Brown, who's only had 10 snaps last week. But I think Brown is going to be in that role with Mustafa out. So that's something to keep in mind. So you got Mustafa and Hufanga is back, Lenore and Ward. And last week we did see, while Ward played 29 snaps and Lenore played 29 as well, we actually saw Renardo Green play 31. So Renardo Green is getting a lot more playing time than he did early on in the year, so you have to look out for him. On the Rams side, of course, it's the usual for the offense. You got Stafford, Williams, then the offensive line, assuming Noteboom it plays or doesn't play or whatever, it's Jackson or Noteboom at left tackle, Avila, Limmer, Dotson, and Havenstein. You got Parkinson at tight end. You got Robinson, Kupp, and Nakua. You'll see Tutu Atwell in the mix. You'll see Tyler Johnson. You'll see Jordan Whittington, depending on the sub package. And with tight ends, you'll see Davis Allen, depending. You'll see Hunter Long. So it's pretty straightforward. That's what I would say in regards to that. And I think this, like I said, I think the Rams have a good matchup here that they could take advantage of. That one, I'll tell you right now. That one, Jalen Moore taking on, Jared Verse is huge. If Jared Verse just gives Jalen Moore fits, it's going to be a long day for Brock Purdy. And I don't know if he can play within the confines of a game like that. I really don't. I think, you can take off and you can run, but eventually it's just going to be too much, right? So that's how I look at it like that. As far as the 49ers as of late, they are essentially the best pass defense in the league. They've only given up 134 passing yards, the last 3 games. Now, understand this, because this is where numbers lie, okay? And whether people want to admit it or not, numbers do tend to lie here and there. So with the 49ers, the reason why it's so low is because the Bears, they won 38-13. They played in the snow against the Bills and lost 35-10. So a team that is dominating you is just going to run the football the whole game. And they lost to the Packers 38-10. So a lot of running the football. So that's why, statistically, the last 3 games, when you look at the 49ers, they have the best pass defense in the league statistically. However, they got blown out in 2 of those games where their teams were just running the football. So they're not giving up the passing yards. So that's where stats can lie, and it is important to know that. On the Rams side, the Rams are middle of the pack the last 3 games, giving up 231 yards a game. And that's saying a lot because they gave up 342 to Josh Allen. So it tells you the 2 games before that, they did a nice job. Then you look at the run game, right? How are the run defenses? Well, right now, the Rams are giving up the second most in the league with 106.7. I almost snapped that arm there. That wasn't good. 186.7 the last 3 games, only behind Carolina for the worst. They gave up 203 a game. Guess what? San Francisco is third to last in the league, third worst in the league, 152.3 rushing yards given up per game. The 49ers, while on the year, they're 12th in the league in run defense, whereas the Rams are 28th. The last 3 games, they have given up the 3rd most rushing yards. You can run on the 49ers. Now, here's the thing. Scoring. How is that going to look? How does the defense look scoring-wise? Are they able to, shut you down in the red zone? What does that look like? And so, when you look at that, right? Well, first off, let's talk about this. So yards per play, right? Teams are getting 6.6 against the Rams the last 3 games. The 49ers, they're getting 4.9. This is where numbers lie because, again, they're getting a lot of plays, right? So their yards per play, average-wise, is going down because they're dominating the clock, running the clock out, and just dominating the 49ers. That's happened 2 of the last 3 games except for the blowout against the Bears. Whereas the Rams, They're in games where, now you're talking about that game against the Bills, that hurts you, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Now, defense by quarter, I want to point this out. In the second half, right, the last 3 games, the Rams have given up 20 points. They're averaging 20 points per game in the last 3 games in the second half. The 49ers have given up 16 on the average, right? So that's interesting there. How do they start off, though? So when you look at the defense in the first half, right, how does that look? And the Rams are about middle of the pack, give up 11 points in the first half on average the last 3 games. The 49ers give up 12.7. So these teams are decently similar stat-wise, because I do think the Josh Allen brigade definitely hurts them. Definitely hurts a lot of the numbers and everything. But what about giveaways per game? Well, over the last 3, the 49ers have given away the ball the 3rd most in the league over the last 3, averaging 2.3 giveaways per game. The Rams are giving away the fewest per game at 0.3. The key here is that the Rams are the better team right now. The Rams are the healthier team right now. The Rams are the hotter team right now. And the Rams are they're in a much better spot than the 49ers right now. But the key is the Rams have to continue to do what they've done. Stafford is taking care of the football. Kyren Williams isn't fumbling the football, hasn't since the Eagles game. He's been a much different player. So that is a big thing. In addition to that, the Rams, and of course, when you look at Craig Rolstad, he throws flag after flag. The Rams have been one of the most disciplined teams in the league. They don't really get penalized very often. So that's another thing when you look at the two teams. That's a huge thing. So what about time of possession, right? What about average time of possession? So when you look at the average time of possession the last 3 games, the 49ers are 3rd in the league, giving up 32-47. So 32 minutes and 47 seconds of the game on average. That is the 3rd worst in the league that they are giving up. The Rams, middle of the pack at 29-16. So kind of giving you an idea, if the Rams are able to stay to their strengths and play to what they want to play and use their style of football game, they are going to have a good time doing this, because this is a good matchup for the LA Rams. It's just that it's a divisional round. It's a divisional game on the road on a short week, which makes it a tough one. So, takeaways. Last 3 games, the Rams have not had a takeaway. They went from feeling like they're going to take the ball away at will. Now they're tied with the Jaguars for worst in the league over the last 3 games, 0 takeaways. The 49ers are averaging 0.3 per game, so they're tied for 3rd worst in the league. So that's going to be a big thing. Does either team take the ball away? I do think the Rams are going to get a pick, and I do think it's going to be a Kello Witherspoon against his former team in his first legitimate start this season, filling in for Kobe Durant. So I do think that's something to keep in mind. On the scoring defensive side, talking about red zone, you look at the red zone offense, the red zone defense, all that, right? Well, the red zone defense right now, this is the interesting thing. If you want to feel good about the Rams more than you have probably all week, listen to this. The 49ers over the last 3 games, and honestly, the 49ers on the year are the 3rd worst red zone defense. Well, over the last 3 games, they're giving up 3.7 touchdowns in the red zone per game. That is where the Rams struggle, okay? Or they struggled before last week. That's where the Rams typically struggle. So if the Rams are able to score in the red zone, they're able to play their style of game, kill the clock, bleed out the clock, suck the soul out of the defense, there's a pathway to a blowout in this game. There absolutely is. I think it's going to be 31-24, but if the 49ers don't get some turnovers, if the 49ers can't stop the Rams in the red zone, the Rams are just running up and down the field, it's going to be a blowout. Now, the Rams average 1.7 red zone scores per game. So while a lot of teams, or a lot of people get on the Rams defense, the Rams defense is one of the best red zone defenses in the league. That is an actual fact. And over the last 3, you could say they are truly one of the better red zone defenses in the league. That's going to go a long way. I really believe that. Ruiz, thank you for the 2. I totally agree. Akello gets a pick. He will never see the bench. Totally agree with you. I think Kobe comes back, and then all of a sudden they'll probably phase out Darius Williams a little bit. But Akello Witherspoon has to step up tonight. He has to have that game that we know he can have because, whether it's fair or not, he hasn't gotten the opportunity to play. Now you get your opportunity, make the most of it. We'll see what happens. As far as first quarter points of the last 3 games, the Rams are averaging 4.3. That includes their pretty decent first quarter against the Bills. That is among the middle of the pack, right? Well, the last 3 games, the 49ers are averaging 5.7 first quarter points. Actually, that's given up. So, yeah. The Rams are giving up 4.3 first quarter points, and the 49ers are giving up 5.7. So interesting stuff there for sure. In the second quarter, right, the Rams are giving up 6.7 points, whereas the 49ers are actually giving up 7 points. So interesting. I look at this game and I just think that there's a lot of opportunities for the Rams. I think this is a good matchup. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be tough, unless it's not. But I wanted to be clear here that I think the Rams have no business losing this game. It's not me being overconfident. It's not me being cocky. If anything, I feel pretty good about the 49ers as a football fan right now. I think that they can absolutely win this game. And I think while people don't want to admit it, if they do win this game, they're right in it. They're 6-7, excuse me. They're 6-7. I think the biggest thing right now for the 49ers is that they don't have Christian McCaffrey, or when not having Jordan Mason as well, who's their lead, he's their leading rusher. That is a significant loss. What can Isaac Guerendo do to help out his quarterback in Brock Purdy? That is really what we're getting at. Okay, what can Isaac Guerendo do to help out Brock Purdy? Is he going to help in the receiving game? Is he going to be able to run the ball? If they can run the ball and the Rams have a hard time stopping Guerendo and it opens up play action and Brock Purdy's able to do his thing, the 49ers can absolutely play spoiler. But you have to also remember the 49ers are playing for their playoff lives right now. It's all on the line. They have to be able to come through and win this game. Their season is done if they lose this game. So that's also an opportunity where the Rams have a chance to eliminate the 49ers. Not mathematically, but we're talking about put them below 1% chance of making the playoffs if they lose this game. I like the chances of them missing the playoffs if the 49ers lose this game. So I wanted to point that out. Of course, special shout out to PFF for giving me these stats. Very easy. Just really appreciate how easy it is to just go through. And I have my notes that I'm going through here. And the reason I did this video is because, one, I'm in a really good mood right now. I got up early, right? I fixed my sleep schedule to a degree, which is rare. But, another thing is, I just feel like over the course of the week, while I brought guests on, and I thought we did a really nice job of, having different guests, because I love 49er creators. It's not really I'm no stranger to 49er creators. I love Grant, love Jesse, love Rob. There's some other people out there. Crystal is a friend of mine. Of course, Eric Crocker is great. There's just a lot of great 49er creators. So I love, linking up with them. With that said, though, I don't feel like I was able to have my full breakdown I wanted to have. And so now that I feel like I had it, I feel better, because I wanted to give you guys that content, because I don't know. I know some of you appreciate it. Maybe not everybody cares so much about having, notes thrown in their face. And to be honest with you, I don't blame you. It's not for everybody. But I'm just obsessed with notes and obsessed with stats and obsessed with analysis. And I want to do my best to get that stuff out there. Shout out Trey Wingo. If you guys haven't seen what he posted today, loved his tweet. And I mean, how could you not? Are the Rams getting set for another late season playoff push? Matthew Stafford is 11-5 with 4,381 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions when Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Kyron Williams are all playing. What does that tell you? Crazy, right? Matthew Stafford is just a machine when these guys all play. So, I mean, come on. He's got over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions his last 4 games. But even still, let's go back to his last 7 games. He's got almost 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 17 big-time throws, 6 turnover-worthy plays, and he's got a 66.8 completion percentage to go with 107.7 passer rating. He has been incredible. By the way, in that same span, Brock Purdy has only thrown 6 touchdown passes. He's been so good, guys. Matthew Stafford has been so good. The only guy that has thrown more touchdowns than Matthew Stafford since the Rams Week 8 is Joe Burrow. He threw 19 from that point. He's 19-4. As far as big-time throws, Stafford is 3rd in the league, only behind Sam Darnold and Justin Herbert. He's 4th right now in yards in that span. So just really impressed with the way Stafford's played. In addition to that, let's do that week 8 to 14 filter there. Let's just keep at it, right? Well, in that, weeks 8 to 14, Saquon Barkley has 965 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. You know who's second in rushing yards? I think I said receiving, but rushing yards. Kyron Williams in that span is second with 577 rushing yards. And he's tied for 10th with 4 rushing touchdowns. So Kyron Williams has been huge. He's 8th in yards after contact. He's just doing a great job. I mean, 9th in the league in missed tackles forced. And 10 plus yard rushes. Kyron Williams has 16, only behind Jahmyr Gibbs and Saquon Barkley in that span. Let's keep it going. Let's do receivers. Since week 8 to week 14, Puka Nacua, when he came back in week 8, he's caught 50 of 70 targets, which is a 71.4 reception percentage, which is higher than Jamar Chase. He's got 673 yards receiving, which is 3rd in that span, only behind Jamar Chase and Jerry Jeudy. Pretty crazy. Goes to show you right now, Puka Nacua is among the best receivers currently in football. He's ahead of Justin Jefferson in that same span. So pretty crazy. Now, he doesn't have the 9 touchdowns that Chase has. He only has 3, but that's still wild. In addition to that, Cooper Kupp quietly has the 11th most receiving yards in the league in that span. So it goes to show you there, the way these guys are playing. And I understand that you have to go the full season for some people. For me, I think splits tell the story. Since week 8, the Rams have been a good football team. They weren't that before the hand. It's that simple. No other way to really put it. And that's what I would say about that. Now, looking at tackles. So since week 8 going to now, right, Alaric Jackson's been the 19th graded tackle. Alaric Jackson has given up 11 pressures, which would, that's not the best, right? But it puts him 31st. So Alaric Jackson isn't playing the best, but he's not bad. And he's had some games where he's really played well. Looking at guard, right? And this is just pass protection. Kevin Dotson is 22nd in that span, he's only given up 9 pressures, which is tied for 15th. He hasn't given up a sack in those 7-game span, right? And center, Bo Limmer. Bo Limmer has given up 6 pressures and a sack. He's tied for 4th in pressures allowed in that span. So you already see it. Like, this team, clearly something changed. They got healthier. They grew up. Obviously, some of these guys are a little bit older, but still, it's definitely worth mentioning. As far as run blocking goes, they're not giving Bo Limmer a ton of credit. The grade there is 15th in the league. It is what it is. Zone blocking, he is listed as the 17th, but gap blocking, Bo Limmer is 2nd in the NFL, according to PFF, in that span. Looking at guards, so guards, you have Kevin Dotson, who's rated as the 5th gap blocking guard, right? And then in zone blocking, Kevin Dotson is listed 2nd. Okay, so he's having a great year. He got banged up, and that happened for sure, but he's having a great year. Steve Avila is 11th, by the way, in gap blocking. So something to mention there. And then tackle-wise for run blocking here, we got the run blocking grades in, and Rob Havenstein is 6th, and Alaric Jackson is 8th in that span. So while pass protection might not be, dominant for Alaric Jackson, definitely the run blocking is there. You look over at Havenstein and Alaric, both at 9th and 10th in the league. They have a very good zone blocking grade. Gap blocking, not as well, at 13th, 15th. So these guys are really doing a nice job in the run game, that's for sure. On the defensive side, looking at the pass rush, we start with the defensive interior, looking at the Rams, of course, over that span. And again, we're talking weeks 8 to weeks 14. So in weeks 8 to weeks 14, Kobe Turner has 20 pressures, and so does Braden Fisk, who puts him at 14th in the league in that span. The sacks, Braden Fisk is tied with Kalijah Cansey for the most in the NFL in that span. So that's interesting. As far as the win rate goes, I'd like to see this be a little higher. Kobe Turner is at 24th. Braden Fisk is at 26th. True pass sets, very interesting. Kobe Turner is at 22nd. Fisk is at 32nd. So I definitely think that, they're having a really good year, but I think the offense since week 8 and on has really done a lot. That's just the defensive interior. Looking at the edge here, talking about pressures, Jared Verse, Micah Parsons, Zadarius Smith, and Chop Robinson all have 32 pressures, which is tied for the most in that weeks 8 to week 14 span. So interesting stuff. Byron Young is 31st with 17 pressures in that time frame. In addition to that, sacks-wise, Jared Verse is tied for 9th. Then you have win rate. Jared Verse is 11th. Byron Young is 13th, right? In true pass sets, the pressure's there. Jared Verse is 4th. And in true pass sets win rate, Jared Verse is 16th. So really good play out of Jared Verse. Obviously, he's probably going to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year. I wasn't wrong about Chop Robinson, folks. I'll tell you that right now. Had a feeling that guy was a special talent as a pass rusher. He's getting better and better each week. But Jared Verse, I'm very glad that he is rushing the passer there. So we got linebackers. Well, we're not going to do pass rush. We'll do run defense. So since in that span, weeks 8 to 14, Omar Spates is the 11th graded run defender. According to all linebackers, Christian Roseboom is ranked 38th. Now, in terms of stops, Roseboom has 12. He's 15th in the league. And Spates has 8, and he's 37th in the league. Stop percentage, right? Roseboom is 18th. Spates is 30th. In terms of tackles, Spates is 17th, and so is Christian Roseboom. Looking at the run defense edge-wise, Jared Verse is rated as the 9th best edge run defender in that span. So that's something. Michael Hoyt is 19th, and Byron Young is 46th. Happens. So interesting stuff there. Verse is 4th in the league in run stops, and run stop percentage, he's 11th. So interesting stuff there. Interior defensive line, Kobe Turner is dominating run stop percentage, number 1 in that span, 13.7. Bobby Brown III is 9th with 11%. Ty Davis is he's 10th with 10.6%. So getting a lot of run stop, obviously. Braden Fisk is not even on this list for whatever reason. I don't know. But the stops there, Kobe Turner leads the NFL with 18 stops. Bobby Brown has 11. He's 10th in the league in run stops in that span. Ty Davis is 20th in the league. And Ty Davis doesn't start. So it tells you a lot about, the maturation, the overall development of a Tyler Davis. Tyler Davis is 14th in tackles in that span. Bobby Brown is 11th. And, of course, Kobe Turner is 3rd. So a lot of good stuff there in the run game. Tyler Davis is doing his thing. Cornerbacks in that span. So run defense, the Rams do not grade out all that well. Darius Williams is 48th, and that's the only guy in the top 50 for the Rams. So not obviously the best there run defense-wise. Safety run defense-wise in that span, Quentin Lake has 6 defensive stops. He's 13th in the league. I thought you would see Cameron Curl a little bit higher. He only has 1 defensive stop in the last 7 games. That is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. So, yeah, there's that. Then we got coverage. So in that span, how does the coverage game look for the Rams? Well, cornerbacks, looking at the Rams here, coverage grade from PFF, and nobody is in the top 50 for the Rams, which I disagree with. I think Kobe Durant has done a really nice job and should be there. It is what it is. But he's not. He's given up 19 catches on 30 targets. I think that's pretty damn good. Because he has not given up a ton of yards, only 246. So speaking of which, guys who have given up yards in the span, and if you guys think I'm crazy, and this is why I've been saying that he's getting abused, Darius Williams has given up the 3rd most receiving yards in the NFL since week 18. So that is a problem. That is a huge problem, right? So that's something that I look at, and I'm like, okay. And then, passer rating, he's given up a targeted passer rating of 22.2, 122.2. I wish it was 22.2. So that, that's an issue. So that has to get fixed, essentially, right? Or he needs to be benched. He's given up the 9th most catches in the league. And, yeah, so that's where we're at on that. So I like these spans, guys. I understand not, everybody loves splits. They're just like, all right, tell me how it's been the whole year. Tell me how it's been. I don't care, weeks 8 to week 14. Oh, when the sun goes down and, the leaves are blowing, this is the stats. No, I think these are genuine. Splits are genuine. They tell a story. So that's how I feel about that. Now, looking at the safeties here in coverage, Cameron Kinchins is the 12th highest grade safety since week 8. Cameron Curl is 23rd, and Quentin Lake is 48th. The most targeted safety the Rams have, Quentin Lake has been targeted the 6th most times of any safety in the league since that time. Cameron Kinchin's 27th. And they don't really target Cameron Curl. Only 10 targets in that span. He's given up 5 catches for 41 yards, or 75 yards, 41 yards after the catch. Not ideal. So, yeah, I think Kinchin's has been their best coverage guy as of late, but they're asking Quentin Lake to do a lot. So that's what I'll say there. The passer rating, as of right now, targeted passer rating, Quentin Lake is giving up 116.9 in that span. Cameron Curl, 108.3. Cameron Kinchin's is a 97.7. So he's been their best coverage safety since week 8. That's what we know. Cameron Kinchin's is tied with Kirby Joseph, Amani Hooker, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson for the most interceptions at the safety position. And as far as touchdowns given up, they've charged Cameron Kinchin's with 3 touchdowns given up. I don't know if that's necessarily fair. I don't think he's given up 3 touchdowns, but it is what it is. Cameron Curl has given up a touchdown. Quentin Lake has given up 2 touchdowns. So there is that. Forced incompletions. Quentin Lake and Cameron Curl are tied for 3rd in the league with 3 in that span. So, yeah, I mean, just kind of giving you an idea of where we're at. Quentin Lake has given up the 3rd most receiving yards for a safety. But again, Quentin Lake is getting some crazy coverage snaps at 263. And he's used in sub packages. So, and then let's just check out linebacker, because why not? Coverage grade for linebacker since week 8, Christian Roseboom is the 8th highest graded coverage linebacker in the league. Pretty crazy. Since week 8. So, say what you will about Christian Roseboom, but that's not a bad place to be. Omar Spates, of course, 57th. Targets. He's been targeted 27 times. He's given up 20 catches, which is not bad because he's a linebacker. These guys are supposed to give up catches. He's given up the 8 most yards. That is what it is. But yeah, interesting stuff there on that front. Edge defenders, well, not many guys are getting those opportunities, but as far as coverage grade goes, Byron Young is 6th in edge coverage grade since week 8. So it's pretty good. So yeah, I'm just going into this game. The Rams are playing really well, and this isn't just the Bills game. I mean, they had been doing this. Now they're healthy. Now they're healthy. So we'll see how it goes, but I think it's been a fun stream. I haven't done this in quite a while, going live this early in the day. I mean, it's not super early. It's 2 now. But it was cool to chat with you guys. And I hope I didn't get another super chat. Oh, I did. Because it is not showing me what super chats I got. Oh, hold on a sec. I'm using the chat now. Okay, we got it. John, thank you for the 5. Have we seen Brock's ceiling? Injury-prone arm, can't play well in wet weather. Yeah, his ceiling was probably last year. I mean, he could be better. I don't know. I could definitely see him getting better, and maybe the stats don't indicate it, but I think last year was a peak year for his stats. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know if you're going to have better stats than you had last year. I'm very curious if we have some splits on Brock Purdy in the weather, because I keep hearing that, he's bad in cold weather, bad and all that. So I want to see for real, okay? Keep in mind, Brock Purdy last year had 31 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and had 113 passer rating. I don't know how much better he can get than that. So I feel like that was the peak. I'm not saying that he can never get to that level again, but I don't feel great. I really don't feel great about paying him long term. And I think he's better than most people do. But paying him long term, like I would give him a 1-year deal and, you know, give him like a raise, but I'm not giving him, you know, 60 million a year over the next 6-7 years. I just don't think that's conducive to winning a Super Bowl and having a, you know, winning organization. So with that said, by the way, when Brock Purdy at any point, oh no, the final margin, okay. When Brock Purdy in the final margin is up by 15 plus points, he's 17-2. When he's up by 8, when it's 8 to 14 points, 5-3. But in a 1-possession game, Brock Purdy is 4-6 in his career. So interesting stuff there. Late night, Brock Purdy is 8-3 in late games. He's got a lower passer rating, but better win percentage. Lower completion percentage. Thursday, Brock Purdy is 4-0. 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. So interesting stuff there. Let's see here. Anything about cold weather? I thought we had more splits than this. I'm looking, folks. All right. I mean, December. There's just not really a whole lot here. Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to try and find it. I am going to try and find this cold weather split. Let's see here. I'm not seeing it. Ah, there it is. Okay, so what is the weather? Okay, Santa Clara weather. So, I mean, tonight it's going to be what? 57? Game time, it'll be 54 degrees. The split only has under 40 degrees, and he has never thrown a touchdown under 40-degree weather. Oh, no, this is for the year. Oh, my God. So for this year, anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe... And it's going to rain? It is going to rain. How bad is this rain? Now I'm curious. Yeah, now I'm really curious about... So it's going to... Okay, 54. 7-mile-an-hour wind. And... They're saying it's not. Well, no, it'll rain by game time. So, it's gonna. There's showers in game time. So, we're gonna see legitimate showers. Light rain at 7. Game time will have showers. It'll be cloudy by 9. Oh no, I'm an idiot. The game time will be at 5. So we're probably not even gonna see the heavy rain. So it'll be raining. But yeah, I don't know how much that's going to make a difference. Definitely won't make a difference for Stafford. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, light rain. I appreciate that, Joshua. Giving misleading stats. Oh, stop. It's just a matter of me being on the East Coast, reminding myself, oh, yeah, they're playing on the West Coast. I have to, yeah. Because it's going to happen at 8. All right. Let's do a poll here. Because I'm going to go and record some Yankees content. Or I might even go live. Let's do a poll real quick. I'll let you guys decide. Should I do a watch party tonight? I'm very curious. I mean, I should probably, like, if I ask people if I should do a watch party instead of that, I should probably ask him, would you tune in if I did a watch party tonight? Is probably the better question, but it is what it is. Okay. You live 10 minutes away from Levi Stadium. What caused that? I've never seen the Rams win a game that I've done a watch party for against the 49ers. I don't stream the game on the channel, but I would stream my reaction. Then do not do it. Hmm. 86 to 14%. Need all the good mojo. I'm not superstitious. I'll either do it if I want to do it or I won't. I'm not superstitious. Because I have no impact, and I don't care what anyone says. If the Rams lose to the 49ers tonight, that happened because it was supposed to happen. I have no impact whatsoever. I'm 3,000 miles away. Like, nothing I do is going to impact the Rams. It's the same thing, like, you know, the whole thing with Kyle Tucker. I want Kyle Tucker to go to the Yankees. And I had Yankee fans, oh, don't do that. You're gonna jinx it. I'm not jinxing anything. They're either going to pull the trigger or they're not. Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner are like, we can't trade for him now. Jake said that it would happen. I mean, come on. That's just not happening. Real quick, before I go, who in here is a UFC fan? I'm not talking about USC. I'm talking UFC. Yeah, he always does a live stream. I don't know if I'm doing one or not yet. I haven't decided. I don't know if Alaric is playing tonight. There's been no news on that. All right, so quick question for you. You that are UFC fans, I'm a huge Joaquin Buckley fan. Who do you got, Buckley or what's his name, Colby? I already forgot the guy's name. The dude that keeps running his mouth. I've already forgotten the dude's name. Can't believe I totally forgot his freaking name. Covington. Colby Covington. So who are you taking? Joaquin, put it in the chat. Joaquin Buckley or Colby Covington? Oh, we got some Covington fans in here. Joaquin Buckley is my favorite. I literally just got into UFC. I was just curious. Not trying to hijack it and turn people away, but Buckley's going to win. So I have no doubt. Since Buckley went down a weight class from middle to welter, he's been so dominant. So yeah, I think Buckley wins. I also think the Rams offense, by the way, going back to the Rams, I think the Rams offense tonight, what you can expect is they're going to be good. I think they're going to get Blake Corum his first touchdown of the season. I think Kyron will score a touchdown. I think Puka will score a touchdown. I think we'll see a passing touchdown from Tutu Atwell, or he'll catch a touchdown. But I really wouldn't put it past Sean McVay. Kyle Shanahan's done the passing touchdown so many times against him, whether that was Debo throwing it or Jawan throwing it or Christian McCaffrey throwing it. So I do see that, but I think end of the day, I think the Rams offense is going to look good. They're going to be good enough to score 30 plus in this game. Defense is going to get some stops. It'll be a fun 31-24 ball game. But that's ball game for this live stream. So I appreciate you guys. Stay tuned. I am going to probably go live tonight and do a watch party. So hope to see you guys there. But until next time, I'm Jake Ellenbogen. And if you like this and you liked me, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I do this all the time. I'm going to be having more guests moving forward. We're changing a little bit of this channel and just going to have more guests and do more live streams. But really appreciate you guys. Appreciate Prize Picks. Special shout out to them. You can go and use promo code JKBogan. Get $50 when you sign up and play a $5 lineup today over on Prize Picks. You got a free pick with Patrick Mahomes. A lot of good value for the Rams. Puka Nacua, like I mentioned. Blake Corum, Kyron Williams, all that. So should be a fun game. Everyone enjoy your day. And I will see you guys, if not tonight, very soon. Take care, folks.